Good evening, and my name is Pat Carr, and this is on behalf, sharing this on my Facebook, on behalf of a dear friend of my wife and I, someone very special to us, and unfortunately, in this past week, we suffered a great loss. Our friend was, her name was Shari Cohan, and she was a good friend of our family, very special person, and the best friend of my wife over the last 8 years. And unfortunately, this week, we lost our friend to a tragic car accident, and she died. Family, of course, as you do. There was a viewing and a funeral, and we had the privilege of being able to offer our condolences to the family. We consider ourselves friends with her family to some degree, but at the same time, I wanted to do just a brief video tribute to Shari Cohan, who died about a week ago Friday in a tragic car accident. Shari met my wife as a massage therapist. My wife had been in a car accident and been significantly injured in her neck and back, and Shari worked on my wife for a long time, helping her with her massage therapy. As she did, my wife and Shari became bosom buddies and began doing things like kayaking and doing things together just as friends, and became the best of friends. As a result, the entire family got to be friends with Shari, including me, my children, and Shari kind of became the buffer between the father who would tote the line, the mother that would try to tweak it, and the in-between. She was the go-between for the kids sometimes. But nonetheless, Shari was a very compassionate person, a caring person. She was very passionate about some things and sometimes even overbearing about it. But I had the privilege in the 8 years I knew Shari of seeing her grow a bit and change. I began to see a person that was very eager to learn, wasn't afraid to try new things and learn new things, and to experiment, and try new things. Shari was very much that way. She was definitely adventurous, as was described in the eulogy, so beautifully done by Lori and Dave at the funeral. And she was a hurricane at times and could be. Shari and my wife were avid kayakers. They took a number of trips together, even all the way up to the East Coast, Northeast, and kayaking and taking pictures of animals and things. I had the privilege a few times of going on trips with them, both long-term trips and short trips. I've camped with them a few times and kayaked with them. I had a wonderful adventure on the Delaware River, and they made me drive for about 5 hours with a blindfold on. I was, of course, in the back. I wasn't driving. That's a good thing. But they were both very creative, and Shari was very caring. She wanted everybody to feel like they were important and that they mattered. And yet, Shari had some struggles herself about her own importance and whether or not she mattered. We had a few opportunities that which I'm going to share with you a little bit about tonight. But I want to start off by sharing just a brief story about a couple days after Shari died. Years ago, as Judy and I got to know Shari and became friends with her, and she even was attending our church fairly regularly in these last several months. I guess maybe in the last year, I'm not sure. But Shari, many times we would go out places and we'd be somewhere and we'd be sitting having dinner and we would get into conversations and things would come up. And many times the same things. As we all do, we have things in our past that we're not proud of. We all make decisions that we look back and think, why in the world did I think about doing that? What was I thinking? Shari was no different, like any human being. But she had a bit of a problem at times where those things would just sit in front of her and would almost like freeze her up. And I remember one night we were talking, and I shared a scripture with her from Matthew chapter 10, verses 29 and 30. And it says this, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a cent? And yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered." Shari was talking about just not feeling like she had a lot of self-worth. And she was talking about, but you don't know what I've done. And I looked her in the eye and said, I don't need to know anything and everything you've done. Because there's nothing you've done that's not going to stop God from loving you. There's nothing you could done that can top what Jesus has already done for you. That can stop what Jesus has already done for you. And I would sometimes get a little frustrated because it kept coming back to the same thing. But you don't know what I've done. But you don't know what I've done. I did know what Shari did. I knew very well things she had done. She had shared those with me at times. And you know, Judy and I frequently would get together and pray for Shari. And we'd get together and talk a lot about it. Judy would share a lot of things with me because I was a sounding board for her. My wife loved Shari like a sister. And they were indeed sisters. They were BFFs. And they were wonderful people. But Shari, like many of us, had struggles. But in the midst of those struggles, I watched Shari grow from a person that struggled a lot to a person that was willing to go out and take chances and willing to go out and try new things. And she wasn't afraid to explore. And she had a very deep appetite to understand. And one of the things I saw in the latter days with Shari was a real desire to understand people. She even reached out to me to understand where I was coming from. We didn't see eye to eye on everything. And there were times where she would just get so passionate about something. And I'd be like, dude, chill out. It's not going to end the world because we don't exactly agree. But I would always look for common ground. And I found that Shari and I had a lot of common ground that we could agree upon. And we both agreed on different ways we could make the world a better place. And we had disagreements on some of those things. But nonetheless, it was something we did. Judy never liked it because she didn't want to get into controversy and things. But yet I live in a life where I don't have a problem talking to someone from an opposite point of view. I think it's important that we be dignified and be able to communicate to one another. And there's nothing wrong with having disagreements. But look what happens today. If you disagree with somebody, you're supposed to be destroyed. That's ridiculous. Shari wasn't that way. Shari didn't want to hurt a person at all. If anything, Shari wanted to help people. And she was living a life becoming a servant to help people in her nursing and her massage therapy. But nonetheless, she had to be reminded frequently that you are a child of the living King and you are important. And we did what we could to try to let her know she was important to us. We remembered her birthday and thought of her at Christmas, and she would always remember us at Christmas. She was so creative with gifts, it was really cool. But nonetheless, she still had her struggles, as we all do. You know, when people struggle with things over and over again, things happen. But there's a song by 10th Avenue North. Its name is Worn, and it has some lyrics in it. I want to share some of these lyrics because I think they kind of sum up what I saw in my friend Shari at times. I've made mistakes. I've let my hope fail. My soul feels crushed by the weight of this world. And I know that you can give me rest, so I cry out with all that I have left. Let me see redemption win. Let me know the struggle ends, that you can mend a heart that's frail and torn. I want to know a song can rise from the ashes of a broken life, and all that's dead inside can be reborn, because I'm worn. My friends, our friend Shari now knows redemption wins. And she now knows that the struggle ends. And everything that may have been dead inside has been reborn. She's in a place of joy and peace and comfort. And I know that she's in a good place. I was telling you about the little story when I talked about the sparrow. I was at a Medwell the following Sunday because I was sick and I had to get some medications and I had to take medications and things. And Shari had been, I had learned about the tragic accident. And I was sitting eating some food before I was taking these medicines because they gave me antibiotics and steroids together. And so I was trying to eat something. And while I was eating, a woman came up to me. She said, "Excuse me, sir." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She had her daughter with her. She goes, "You must be a man that works a lot with animals." And I was puzzled because I was thinking about Shari and about when I shared those verses with her. And lo and behold, about 6 inches from my arm was a sparrow sitting very quietly while I was eating. Didn't even know it was there until this lady pointed it out. And I looked at it and it just sat there. And the lady kind of smiled at me, and I kind of smiled back. And she went about her way with her daughter. But I think it was just God telling me, she's okay. I got her. And I felt good about that. And I thought that was a unique experience after having heard of my friend's death. But sometimes God will do things. He'll give us a sign, kind of tell us, I'm still in charge. I still got this. And he's done that. I believe Shari is in a better place because Shari trusted in Jesus Christ. There's only one person that went to the cross and died for the sins of man. That was Jesus. No one else. Nothing else. Jesus went there. Jesus put himself in the position by saying who he was openly and honestly, and led to people wanting to kill him, who succeeded in doing so. But Jesus rose from the grave. That's what we all have to look forward to. It's not easy having lost Shari, and I know for you, the Cohan family, you're still suffering. But I hope this gives a sense of comfort and peace to you, to know that your sister is in a much better place, and she is living it up. The hurricane has been unleashed in the heavenlies. So, take heart. I know you hurt, and I know you need to cry. You'll need to hug each other and be there. But I just wanted you to know what a special person your sister was, and her influence and effect on this family. We loved her too, like one of our own. And we cared very much about her and wanted her welfare to be a good thing. So I want you to understand that while we cannot identify exactly your suffering, you grew up with her. Many of you went through life with her just like we did. You knew her far longer than we did. But we knew her well enough to know she was very special, as you have said. I pray for your comfort. I pray for your healing. And if you ever need anything from my family and myself, we are more than happy to help wherever there's need. We appreciate having the opportunity to get to know the family and hope that we can continue to still be your friends. And I hope that you all do very well. I wish you young people, Jonah and Marley and all, Zach and Joel, I think it is, I wish you well. And if you ever need anything, ever need to talk or just need a shoulder to hang on, we're here. We aren't going anywhere. But we do just want to tell you tonight, I give this as a tribute to Shari Cohan, our friend and fellow believer, and I want you to know that we will miss her greatly. But we will not forget her, and we will remember her. Thank you so much. And I thank God that he allowed us to share your sister with you. Have a good evening, and may God bless you.